Hi everybody, thank you for tuning in. I'm just going to be flying for right now along the Positive X highway, checking stuff out. So it's going to be kind of random, but with the extended render distance, everything looks very pretty. So what you're seeing here is differences between the 256K world download, which is what all of the background data is, and new changes. So obviously this lava cast has been made sometime in the last couple of years. Hi Windows. Not much. I'm just playing around with the extended render distance some more. Yes, I can actually go to the end. Let me go to the end portal. This is a good thing to show off. It's only a few thousand blocks from here. I'm also trying to work on saying in my live streams because it's not very good, so bear with me. So please, there, I did it again. Please mock me every time I use filler words. The closest end portal is about 1900 on the plus X axis, so not very far at all. I'm hoping there's nobody camping end spawn. I know that was happening during the TP exploit shenanigans, but I should get some chorus fruit out first. It's a good way to escape. To be honest, I spend very little time in the end. It's kind of boring in many ways, at least in my opinion. I'm sure some people have more fun things to do, but it's just so empty of everything. It's also a pain if you don't already have a dupe stash in the end, and transporting stuff through the end portal is time consuming and dangerous, so it's pretty obnoxious. Here we go. Wish me luck. Well, surprisingly, nobody here. Although honestly, not that surprising. Most people have a life. So we'll take a moment, and then the other data should go. Yeah, just give it a minute. I have all this data on a network addressed storage system, so it takes a while for it to make it over to my computer. There we go. And in case you're not aware, the bedrock at the bottom of the end was, I believe, caused by some kind of glitch or mistake on the admin's part that resulted in it being generated when these chunks were loaded. So very early in the end, people traveled along these paths and it generated bedrock, which those chunks haven't been replaced since then. Yeah, it is very pretty. That is interesting. I don't think I've seen this before. Somebody put a bunch of water around these islands. It's kind of strange, but it looks pretty cool. This is kind of interesting. It looks like I'd have to generate or load more of these the chunks into the mapper that I'm using, but it sort of looks like somebody traveled on this diagonal highway and loaded it in a version when there was no islands that generated that close to spawn, which is why there's a big gap. Anyway, honestly, what I think is even more cool than the end is the nether. So if you give me a second, I will go back overworld and then into the nether. Especially very close to spawn, a ton of netherrack was removed, and as you fly around, you can see just massive chunks of it disappearing in front of your eyes. So I'll show that off. I think that was done by II, but to be honest, I don't know for sure. Oh, and look, a flying machine. Back when these worked reliably. And the dragon is out. Nice. I think something's fucked up about my client at the moment. Well, might have to reconnect. Something's screwed up. Yeah, this set of mods I have is definitely not super stable. Oh, they want a link. All right. it's important to put the elytra on before you jump. Anyway, this is spawn, so it's been completely decimated, as you can tell. I'm gonna see if I can find some chunks. Oh, and there's an echo. See if I can find some areas that I haven't loaded. Yeah, here we go. So all of this was dug out sometime in the last 2 or 3 years, which is, to be honest, pretty insane. I think it goes out to something like 5,000 in each axis. And thank you, P5. I love it when you go into new trunks and wither skulls that have been they left render distance around 8 people, they just start appearing out of nowhere. Lorazepam wants me to stream some bitches. I don't know if I can do that. That might be demonetized. Not that I'm actually monetized. I only have like 100 subs, so that's not going to happen. Does anyone know for sure who cleared all of this netherrack? Like I said, I think it was II, Infinity Incursion, but I'm not 100% sure. I know there were some smaller efforts, but I thought that they like bombed it out, like something like 5K in each axis. Let me know. Yeah, II Secret Void Project. There we go. Thank you. Meow. Where's Yada when we need him? Here, I'll go a little farther from spawn, and it's just amazing to fly around with so much render distance. Honestly, it makes it much easier to navigate because you're not constantly getting stuck in dead ends. Oh, within 2K, they said. Okay, that's still very impressive. It does look like they didn't go all the way down to the lava layer this far, but they did bomb the top layer, it looks like. So the data that I have right now is this actually. So the overworld data is from the 256 world download, 256K. So that would mostly be 2020 and 2021. The nether and end data is from the 100K world download. So that would have been primarily 2018 and 2019. So it's been like 4 or 5 years that this is out of date. So there's been a lot of changes, as you can tell. And no, Spire, this is not something that's provided by the server. I'm using a mod called Bobby, which I highly recommend, which it's only 1.18, so you have to do some mod shenanigans to get that to work, but it essentially caches all of the data that you have ever seen. So it sort of functions like a 24/7 world download, but I went through and converted. The data that it stores are in MCA files, which is the exact same region data format used by Minecraft in general. So in order to get it in here, I did a batch conversion job of the 1.12 world download data to 1.18. And I believe it's about 1.4 terabytes of data in total. And it took about 24, maybe 36 hours of CPU time to do the conversion. I should get in contact with the mod author, just let them know about what I've done. I'm pretty sure there's a memory leak because basically it's inevitable. You run out of memory, starts garbage collecting constantly, and the client essentially falls over. It is open source, so it's on GitHub. Could try to contribute some fixes. That would be really nice. Yeah, I definitely agree, Spire. Like, you've seen renders of this. Some people have made kind of like one-off renders, which look great, but seeing it in real time is very beautiful. Okay, let me go a little farther from spawn so we can get into more natural nether terrain. 'Cause that also looks nice. I really should write up instructions of how to do this. It's not hard in terms of complexity. It's just you have to have an absolutely outrageous amount of disk space and be willing to nuke your computer for several days doing the processing. So I might write that up and try to distribute it. I do think that this gives a new appreciation to the spawn area. Yes, P5. It's 1.2. Let me get the exact size. Give me 1 sec. Okay. It looks like it is 1.2 terabytes uncompressed. I'm storing it in ZFS, so it is a little bit compressed, but yeah, about 1.2 terabytes. And that's that's all of the converted 1.18 overworld nether and end data. Yep, Spire, I know the feeling. I recently built a large network address storage system that has 32 terabytes of storage after redundancy. So there's some truism about the amount of storage you use inevitably growing to fit the amount of storage that you have. So this is definitely a product of that. Okay, I'm gonna go overworld. Nether's fun, but there's probably more interesting builds overworld. Dimensions, it has to reload a bunch of stuff. Okay, here we go. Well, that's a big jungle. Spire, I wouldn't say I'm in vanilla. This is heavily modded, but I am on the real 2B2T right now, connected as a normal client. Basically what Bobby does is there's the chunks that are sent by the server, and those are handled normally, but anything outside of that up to the render distance that you set is essentially cached. It's stored from cached or fetched from the cache in your local computer and rendered, but not actually used. And as soon as you come into render distance, that's the cache data is replaced with whatever the server sends you. P5 says he's coming. I assume I'm going to take that figuratively and not literally, but you never know. P5, have you not seen this before? I swear I've streamed it before while you were around. Render distance is 48. Bobby can actually go much higher than that. I've tried it as high as like 128. I think people have gone even further, but like it just absolutely annihilates my computer when I do that, especially near spawn, because there's so much complicated geometry. So 48 seems to be the most I can set from a practical perspective. And Spire, yes, I'm using Meteor Client, which seems to be decent. Yeah, this is 1.18 or 1.18.2 to be clear. I think it might support higher than that, but that was the highest version that I could find compatibility with all the various mods that I needed. I also have a mod installed that lets me change the time of day, which is nice. P5, imagine not subscribing to my channel and ringing the notification bell so you get notified every time I stream. But I should do that. I will do that. P5, that sounds like kind of a user error to me, I'll be honest. I have seen that Ice Tank. I could be wrong. I thought that because my understanding is that basically sets an LOD, like level of detail, on the far chunks, which improves performance. But I believe that it doesn't support the version of Minecraft that I'm using. But that would be awesome, because just storing the data in memory is not bad. It's just rendering all the high resolution or like the full quality polygons out to God knows how far. Yeah, it's too bad. So if that is ported to 1.18, I will definitely use it, because like yeah, essentially being able to set a render distance that becomes invisible would be really epic. Just for YouTube, I've got to do this. As it says, like and subscribe, bitches. With YouTube removing the ability to dislike, I can't even be triggered by the stream of dislikes that I'm sure would have streamed in right then. Whoa, is this a single chunk? That's not something you see that often. The texture pack is 1K, and let me get the exact name of it. Yeah, so this is Hardtop 1K. I think it's their vanilla texture pack. I really like it because it basically looks like Minecraft 16 by 16 textures, which I appreciate aesthetically, but there's a lot of subtle detail inside of it. But yeah, you can get it on Patreon. I think they're worth supporting. They've been super, they've been releasing tons of awesome texture packs. It's also fully PBR if you want to use nicer rendering, but if I turn that on, it annihilates my GPU with this much render distance. It is PBR, P5, but I just don't have the shaders turned on to appreciate that right now. Okay, I'll give it a try. I'll land and see if I can crash my computer. There you go. This is Seuss. Oh, okay. I have it doing super resolution rendering, so I should turn that off. That's a little better. Actually, kind of impressed at how well it's doing. 49 FPS. It's not a smooth 60, which is good for streaming, but still pretty good. These also, okay, without getting too deep into the weeds, these are actually the wrong textures. These are lab PBR as opposed to the old style PBR that Seuss uses. So some of the like specularity and roughness, those are not right in these textures right now, but I don't have the 1K versions downloaded for old PBR. But it still gives you some idea of what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to turn it off so I get better frame rates. I also really like to do super resolution rendering because it gives you real anti-aliasing. Oh yeah, and this feature here, I have no good explanation for what it is. I will go onto the mini map and show you some more. But we found this during the 100K world download, and I think it may even extend out past the edge of that, but it's some really strange glitch that somehow, I don't know what the exact order of operations was, but Some of these chunks were generated in like the beta version that had the infinite ocean glitch, and then some of them were either not generated in that version and later filled in, or perhaps corrupted somehow later and replaced. But basically, these are all one chunk wide, some very strange glitch. I don't know, I don't have an explanation, but it looks very much like somebody walked this path long ago, and the chunks were corrupted in this odd way, and that resulted in them later being filled in. So this part of Spawn is honestly one of the coolest, in my opinion, just because of these really weird terrain features. And these goes on for thousands of blocks. Yeah, and one other detail is, well, this is actually very interesting. So yeah, this I don't, okay, this tree must have been planted later, and that makes sense because they're seedlings, but basically these trees are obviously truncated. So what that tells me is that the tree generation logic ran here successfully, and then perhaps these chunks were just not persisted correctly by the server. Because, for example, if this terrain was generated later, I think, but I don't know 100%, that it would have generated these trees that would go over the gap, because that happens in a later step of generation. Again, I'm not certain, but this tree here clearly was planted later because it's not truncated in the same way. So a user replaced that one. Hi, Lamp. I love you too. All right, I'm gonna explore it south because I've previously gone north quite a distance on this. Per se, this is, I'm using Meteor for the actual hacked client, but it is a 1.18.2 client. And the mod that's giving me the extra render distance is called Bobby. And I've loaded all of the data from the 256K world download to get all of this extended render distance. For real though, if anyone has insight technically into what caused this glitch, please let me know. I really want to know. We noticed this years ago while doing the 100K, and it's just baffling exactly how this happened. It's almost like the even or odd rows. I'd have to look in how it's stored in region files, if there's maybe an order that would explain this, but it's as though some of the columns were corrupted and others were not, if they were stored in like row format or column format in terms of ordering. The other thing, which I actually have to thank Negative Entropy for doing, is he pre-generated, or maybe, I think Entropy wrote the script, Lamp might have actually run it, but basically all of this map data for Zero's mod is pre-populated from the 256K world download. So it takes a while to load, but all of this top-down view is pre-generated. Okay, so it still continues down here. No, Spire. The Zeros data is, I think, only 20 gigabytes because it only stores basically top-down view, so it doesn't have the full data vertically. I think it's also compressed losslessly, but still compressed, probably more efficiently than the chunk data is because it's an image, and there's better compression algorithms for that. Anyway, this is the full extent. I think we've seen this corruption a few other places. I'd have to look. So if you go to either the 256K or 100K Reddit post, there should be a link to DePorkshop's hosted version of the map, which you should be able to find other chunk corruption like this. I believe it showed up in a few other places. Yeah, shout out to everybody involved in that project and DePorkshop for building. I mean, it was a lot of fun. He did a lot of the coding related to merging data from the various bots we had going that downloaded the world data itself. And he also hosts the map version live online. Oh, here's more. Okay, we gotta go check that out. And this is strange. Is that maybe, I don't know what block that would be, but we're gonna go check it out. Okay, P5 says 256k.pepsi.team is the server to go to if you want to look at the map. Yeah, here's more of this weird corruption. So I've spent a fair amount of time looking at this data, both in the renders and also like single player local versions, but it's just, okay, I guess somebody decided they didn't like that and blew it up. That's interesting. I don't quite understand why you would do that. Maybe there was a base there. Anyway, it's just a lot more compelling to me, at least, to see it live on the server like this and also be able to see the changes that have showed up since the download when you get into render distance. So what's the over-under on this being completely nuked when I get there? That looks like a crafting table, or rather an enchantment table. Oh, is this might be Joey's, okay, this totally is. This is Joey's enchanting table biome, I believe. It's definitely in his style. Good old Cat Flushed has seen better days. So several years ago, it was discovered that placing enchanting tables, I think because of the animation of the book on top that rotates, I'll show you if you get near them. It kind of all rotates to face you and changes. It, first of all, absolutely annihilates frame rate on clients, but it also apparently has a lot of impacts on the server in terms of basically TPS. So figured out that it was a way to lag the server and also sometimes crash clients by overwhelming them. So I think Joey and his compatriots placed millions of them and pissed house off while fucking over the server. That might have been patched, or perhaps people just got bored. Yeah, Brython, cat flushed is an underappreciated meme. All kittens will appreciate that. I'm going to head back near spawn because we'll probably have a higher density of interesting stuff to look at. Well, that's lovely. Yeah, Lamp, you're going to stream snipe me with coordinates shown? That's pretty low effort, I'm not going to lie. Just like I found that house at Autostralia yesterday that was ungriefed, like 200 blocks away from the main build that apparently they were too lazy to blow up. Like, if you're gonna grief shit, at least put in some effort. Yes, it is. And I don't know if this is an example of it, but a lot of places on 2B, you'll see a couple of things. You'll see snow and also ice in a very patchy pattern. And so I believe the reason that that occurs is that when the terrain was originally generated in an older seed or generation version, it was not a snow or ice biome, so it wasn't there. But then over time, now that it is one of those biomes, Minecraft will slowly, kind of stochastically, whenever the chunks are loaded, add back snow and ice. So essentially the denser, this kind of is an example of it here perhaps, the denser the snow or ice, the more time it has actually been loaded, which indicates the more basically players have passed through and caused, while they had it in their render distance, that process to occur. Brython says no. What is that referring to? Oh, yes. Yes, you should actually waste all of your money on 2B. Subsidize it for the rest of us. Okay, Ice Tank says snow is not placed in chunks that have not been populated. If a chunk is spawned at an edge and unloaded again, but before being updated, it won't have snow in a newer version. Okay, I'm not quite sure I follow that, but that's interesting to know. I don't know all of the mechanics of how this works. I love, like, this old terrain gen. It's probably alpha because there's no grass, but you have all these like floating islands. I miss this. The new versions are just kind of boring and realistic in their terrain gen. Yeah, Iliad, like, this server has a reputation for being dangerous, and I don't know. I think you'll run into a lot more nice people than you would imagine, and I think you should give it a try. Oh, nice. Okay, this is one of the flower highways. It looks like it's a new one as well, because it's not there before. Or maybe it was griefed and then repaired, something like that. It's been TNT'd here, obviously. I would recommend not trusting a lot of people. I mean, if they kill you, whatever, that's not a big deal. Don't trust them IRL, and just try to find fun people to play with. And over time, you will make friends, and most of them will be normal, well-adjusted people. Like, the reality of this server is not what is portrayed by, let's just say, reality television YouTubers. Like, Fitz videos are fun. They're like fun stories, but they're not really what it's like to play on here. So think of them as reality television that dramatizes reality. Yeah, people will kill you. You just have to deal with it. Like, dying is not a big deal. Don't bring anything to spawn that you care about losing. That's also good advice. Like, I can't even keep track of the number of times I've been killed randomly at spawn by various PvPers with their crystals. If you just don't give them attention, they'll kind of ignore you. I guess somebody decided to grief this dick, so that's interesting. Yeah, Spire, that's sort of what I did. The first 3 or 4 months, I went about 100k from spawn, built stuff, grinded a bunch of single player, or grinded a bunch of vanilla gear, enchanted it. I did use a hacked client to like find ores. That was kind of fun. Went back to spawn, immediately got killed, raged a little bit, and then decided I just didn't really care. And you just kind of make friends with people, and you can pick up a lot of gear in the aftermath as a scavenger of the various PvPers. Just sneak in and steal their gear after they die. It's a good way to get gear to start out and then get ready for a dupe, and then you'll be set. Yeah, this build, actually, I found flying around yesterday. It's pretty new, I assume, based off of how undamaged it is. I don't know who built it. So if anyone knows, let me know. And see if there's any signs. Yes, cactus dupe, best dupe. Toss all of your items at a cactus, and about half the time, you gotta relog when you do it, about half the time they'll duplicate and relog in. Yes, Big Mooney, you should give it a try and report back on how it works. Yeah, this also, I'm going to land and show you. I'm not quite sure what this logo is up here. It looks like it was not completed. So you can see it's some kind of Z shape, and they like put the outline. I don't know if you can see that with the stream quality, and it's partially filled in. And what this tells me is that it was done by hand, which is insane. Like the Spawn Mason logo was all done, the big one was done completely with automation, but I don't know what it is. So if anyone knows, let me know. But I just can't imagine spending your time placing obsidian in the sky. That would, oh boy, my Alexa is dead. Yeah, I gotta keep an eye on that more. Anyway, as you can see, there's this constant battle. Well, it actually looks to me like this used to be just a pure obsidian highway, and it was filled in with water. Yeah, we're north of spawn, so this is not the Southern Canal. I do think that there was a project to sort of surround spawn with canals, but obviously it's a constant battle to repair them. Yeah, Braithon, how did that work out for you? 5 guys is pretty dangerous. Yes, Spire, you can sponge it, but I think nobody is, like, autistic enough to try. Or if they are, they don't have the follow-through to actually damage it in a significant way. Yeah, this is the classic, like Lamp said, this is the original version. So the original version of the canal was completely unobstructed like this, but was it Ain? I think it was Ain who basically built a sponge piston, essentially a flying machine with a sponge on the end that flew all the way through the Southern Canal and completely dried it out. That obviously irritated people, and if we get to the other side, I'll show you. They've built barriers, so there's no continuous long sections that you could run a flying machine through. It does make it more annoying to use a boat, but it's more of an art project than a practical means of transportation, in my opinion. Oh, okay, Lamp says it was house 1. That also makes sense. And Cosmic, I'm using Meteor, but a whole bunch of other mods for the extended render distance. As soon as Ox updates Future, hint hint, you should all rage text him about that. I will be using Future, but it doesn't support 118 right now. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, Southern Canal, I think, is similar to the Spawn Mason logo in the sense that it's a project that is so big that it is basically ungriefable. Like, people are not willing to devote... It can't be done manually because it's just physically impossible to manually mine or destroy such a big project, and nobody smart enough or dedicated enough to actually automate it wants to do it. So it's kind of a fun way that automation has beaten the griefers, just in terms of overwhelming their ability to destroy or place blocks. Oh, I did not know that, Pizza. I might want to give that a try. Oh, this is one of my favorite parts of Spawn. These these like lava towers, they were around in 2017 when I joined. I don't know who placed them, but they've been here for years. Yeah, and clearly this obsidian wall has been placed since the 256k download as well. The water cube also is in that state, or it was placed since then, but I've pretty much loaded all of the chunks near spawn, so it won't show up as having changed when we go by it. I would say that, Ice Tank, but its withers make it pretty easy to destroy obsidian. So part of why the sky survives is that you can't place withers above it because it's at the world height. So it forces you to mine it by hand. So it'll be interesting when soon, of course, to be updates to a newer version with a higher build limit. I think a lot of this stuff at spawn will be pretty quickly destroyed by withers. That's just my hypothesis, though. Yeah, Brathan, I'm with you. I don't think it'll update. I hope it does, but I'm not that hopeful. And yes, I suspect there will be a new project to add obsidian at the new world height, but it'll take a while to build up to what we have right now. The spawn masons might even make a bigger logo, but don't tell anyone I said that. Oh look, it's a new friend. I'm gonna go say hi. Although it might just be a bot AFK. Yeah, I think it is. Kill, I'm too lazy. Okay, here's the southern canal. We got to go a little farther to see the new design, but I will show you what they've done to try to prevent sponge griefing of the canal. Although my memory is, yeah, my client might crash soon because of the memory leak. We'll see. Yeah, I think the southern canal was expanded widthwise near spawn. I don't think it's this wide for most of its length. It's only like 5, or no, I feel like it's 6 wide. I think. We'll see. Alright, yeah, my client is about to fall over, so I think that might be a hint to me to end the stream. But let me just show off really quick what they're doing here. So it's partially been destroyed, but basically there's no path there's a hole here, and then a hole on the side, and then the hole in the middle, so there's no way to have a straight line path that runs the entire length of the canal. I believe that was added to make sponge griefing with flying machines harder, but obviously with other automation we could use. But anyway, I'm about to run out of RAM, so I think I'm going to end the stream. So thank you all for tuning in.